Hello. I am an International Women Leader Scholar, a gender equality advocate, and the future village crazy little lady of Madagascar. My name is Sthela, and I am from Madagascar. And those are my identity. Those identity of mine came from many people, not just me. I just thought didn't come from them. But it's come from so many women, so many friends, so many colleagues, but most importantly, from my grandmother. My grandmother, her name is Ravlulna Menzanari. She has created all this identity of mine. She has modeled this, she has helped us, so that I have a legacy that I can pass on to the next generation. As I mentioned earlier, I'm from Madagascar, and it's not about the movie. Madagascar is an actual country, part of African continent, and it's 400 kilometers west of Africa. There's 24 million people there, and it's one of the most beautiful and rich in biodiversity nation. However, Madagascar is also one of the poorest country in the world and the most gender unequal. In 2017, the World Forum of Economy met and released an article saying that it will take us 170 years to reach gender equality, and as for that day, in 2017, there is no country that has reached gender equality. That is sad. 170 years to reach gender equality. That's a number that we should all be scared. However, we can do something about it. And let me prove to you that we can do something about it. Today, I'm going to talk a bold move that you can take to change the life of an individual in your family, in your community, for your country, and for the rest of the world. And I will tell the story of my grandmother. My grandmother was born and raised in a small village called Tsmabiarna, Madagascar. She had 2 daughters. She was a widow. She has never left Madagascar. She was able to read and write, and those were her weapon. While she left this world, she left 2 legacies for her grandkids, and one of them is education for all. She is one of the million women that we don't know that has done so much work to make the world a better place. And I think it's selfish of me not to do anything for gender equality, so that I can live in an equal world and that you can live in an equal world, and so that the rest of the next generation can live in an equal world. Let me tell you a story. There are 2 legacies that my grandmother left for us. One, education. Education is for her the key to reach your highest potential. Education has different shape and form, but for her, you gotta go to school. So throughout our primary, middle school, and high school, she was our tutor with her ability to read and write. So in Madagascar, on Wednesday, there is a break on Wednesday afternoon. So every Wednesday, throughout my entire school year, we have a break, and my grandma will sit with us and do homework. And it was fine for the primary school because she's able to follow. But then, when we reach middle school, then we have subject that she was not able to follow, like English. If you don't know anything about Madagascar, Madagascar has a language, a national language called Malagasy. That's the language. We also speak French because we're colonized by French. But also, a few years ago, we added English as our 3rd national language. With all of that, when my grandma went to school, went to primary school, she only learned like some French, not all French. So when she was tutoring us while we were doing our English homework, I always wonder, why is she sitting here? And I was asking her, like, why are you sitting here tutoring me if you don't know English? Then she looked at me and she said, exactly, because I don't know. So I need you to know. And if that means that I have to sit with you while you are doing it, then I will do it. That was a way of her to push us so that we can reach that education that she is hoped for. Another legacy that she left for us is all are equal. I was born and raised with 3 brothers. I'm the only girl. In a culture where it's literally easy to pick boys over girls and to have a girl helping the survival of your family, my grandmother never looked at me differently. Anytime there's things need to be done, all 4 of us has to be there. Anytime that it's a school time, everybody has to be there. It's not like, oh, only the boys come because it's time to make a decision about the future. It's everybody has to be there so that we can make that decision together. And that role modeling that she did was helping the 4 of us to become a strong advocate for human rights today and for strong advocate for gender equality. And that legacy that she left is living in all of us today, in the community that she belonged to. Her story matters. As every other woman's story, we can learn something from a story. And one thing that I learned from her story is, first of all, to be a role model. You can be a role model. To reach gender equality, to reach that gender equality, you and I has to work to reach that. And it started yesterday, as my grandmother did. We are kind of late. It's 170 years today. Few months ago, I applied for Ph.D. studies at University of Michigan. And when I was writing paper, I was consulting my family, and everybody's like, I don't know what to do. And when I was consulting, I was like, why is nobody able to help me? Because nobody in my family has ever had to apply for a Ph.D. as a woman. I am the first woman in my family to apply for a Ph.D. studies. I panicked. The fear that I have, the tears, the call that I have done to all my friends to say, I have no idea what to do. But yet the other side of it is this is gonna be someone else's successful story one day. Someone else is gonna look at it and say, if Sthela made it, I can also do it. That's a role modeling. The other things we can learn is to support education for all. If you ever have an opportunity to support education, please do so. If my grandma decided that I was not worthy enough to go to school and to get education, I would not be even standing here or have that identity to be an international women leader, to be an advocate, or even the future crazy little lady of Madagascar. I will never be that person. So if you have that opportunity, please do so. The third and the last one, and the most important, and we usually do not talk a lot about it in gender equality conversation, is to empower men and boys to be a fully member participative in your household, to challenge the status quo. And sometimes we say, oh, we talk a lot about men in a gender equality. Why are we talking about this? We need to talk about this. Because most of the status quo, at least in Madagascar, is that men make the decision. We can challenge that. And by challenging it, we can empower them to be a fully participant of the household. I remember each summer my aunt came over. That's vacation. So in Madagascar, vacation looks like I'm going to my aunt's house. That's vacation. That's your holidays. That's your summer. You spend time with your aunt. That's what summer looks like. So each summer, my aunt would come to our house with my twin cousins. And when they were toddler, me and my oldest brother were the babysitters. So my grandma would call me and my brother and say, hey, I'm going to show you how to change diapers, how to feed the baby, how to hold the baby. Never in that time she just said, Sthela, just come here and let's change the baby because you need to know that, because you are the girl. Never she has ever done that. For her, my brother got to learn how to do this, because that is also part of being a man, being able to do the same job as women in your household. Forward on that, a few years ago, my brother and I went to visit a family member. And while we were in that visit, after the dinner, everybody kind of wait, like who's going to do the dishes? Should I do the dishes? And My brother say, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. That's fine. I'm going to do it. And there's a voice from one of the family members saying, shame on you, Sthela. And my brother stood up and say, no, I can do dishes. There's no such thing as men works and women's work in a household. It's a shared job. Right in that moment, my brother was modeling a behavior for my cousins, my uncle, and my aunt, but also changed the narrative of what men can do. If you leave that place today, I want you to remember 3 things. First, that you can be a role model. You may think you can't. You can, in a small way, in a big way, in your own way, but be a role model. Support education in different way. There's so many type of ways to support education, but support education. Because if my grandma did look at me different way, I would have not stand right here. And the last one is the challenge that status quo about men and boys. My grandma is an unknown woman for all of you. You don't know my grandma, but she has impacted the life of so many people in my community and literally changed the narrative of people in my family. Today, most of my cousins went to high school. The 4 of us, her grandchildren, all went to college. 2 of my brothers are engineers. My eldest brother is a physician, and I am going to be the first woman to apply for a Ph.D. in the family. I am the wildest dreams of the family just because of my grandma. And my hope is that when you live here, you start to think about what you can do to leave a legacy where someone else will be saying, I am the wildest dream that the world has ever seen because of you. And together, we can make gender inequality a history. Thank you.